So just this week, the first trailer came out for Dune, the 2020 adaptation of everyone's beloved science fiction novel by Frank Herbert. If you guys haven't read this book yet, you need to. Just trust me, you will love it. It's worth every page, and it's just going to give you so much more insight and understanding to the film. The trailer came out earlier this week. I'll link below and above my trailer reaction. I was totally blown away by the upcoming film by Denis Villeneuve. I'll also say right now, apologies if I mispronounce anything in this video, because there are a lot of names in Dune that I probably don't exactly know how to say, but we're going to get through it together, and I would appreciate your understanding. I am so excited for the upcoming movie, and the date is still TBD with the pandemic still going on, but I thought it would be fun to break down the trailer and talk through the things that we saw, the characters, different things on that order. I'm kind of not exactly sure how in depth to go because I don't want to necessarily share spoilers that from reading the book. If you've read the book, you know certain things that are going to happen, and you see certain things that happen in the trailer, and you know what's going on. But if you've never read the book, or you've never seen the David Lynch film, or any of the other Dune adaptations, some of it could be considered spoilers, I guess, but I've decided today that I'm going to talk about the trailer with my knowledge, or lack thereof, of reading the book. So if you haven't read the book yet, or you haven't seen any of the films, you may not want to watch this video because there could be some spoilers ahead. But I just want to kind of just talk through the things and kind of pick out what we think's happening, having read the book, having seen other films. So also want to say I am not a Dune expert, right? I read the book, I've watched the David Lynch film, but this world is complex, as you very well know. So I don't know everything about Dune, but I find this world fascinating, and I really want to break down this trailer with you guys. So if you guys know things that I don't, please shoot them in the comments. I'd love for this just to be a conversation. And I will try not to get anything incorrect. I'm not going to promise. I'm not a scholar on Dune, or the world of Arrakis, or Spice Melange, or the Fremen, or any of the sort. But let's just keep this fun and friendly. If you guys need a little bit of a snack for this discussion, I've got some delicious spice melange cakes. I'll have the recipe down below. They actually were made in the microwave. They're basically just cinnamon cakes that were inspired by Dune. They're a little addicting, so be careful with that, but go ahead and whip up one of those and grab a coffee if you want to get cozy. So Dune is set about 20,000 years in the future. The year is 10,191. And what does this future look like? It actually takes place after the Great Revolt, which was a revolt against computers and thinking machines. The Orange Catholic Bible now actually even says, "Thou shalt not make a machine in the likeness of a human mind." So no more computers, and we'll get into that a little bit. But yes, we're set in the future, but not in the sense of high technology with computers and thinking machines. So power is kind of established, I'd say, by the Guild, which is, space travel and trade. The great houses, which are houses like the Atreides, which Paul, the main character, is a part of, or the Harkonnens, and we'll get into some of that, as well as the Imperium and the Emperor. But let's just dive into the trailer. We'll start and stop it and talk about different things as we watch the trailer unfold.
There's something happening to me. There's something awakening in my mind. I can't control it.
What did you see?
There's a crusade coming.
Do you often dream things that happen just as you dreamed them?
Yes.
The test is simple.
Okay, let's pause there real quick. So we see young Paul Atreides, the son of Duke Leto Atreides and the son of Lady Jessica. This is the Atreides family, very popular, charismatic family, and they are preparing to leave their home world of Caladan, which is the planet that we are seeing with kind of the water and the beaches, and they are going to be headed to Arrakis, which is a desert planet, so completely different environment, and it's also known as Dune. So Arrakis, Dune, same planet. So the Emperor has actually asked Duke Leto Atreides, played by Oscar Isaac, to go to Arrakis, Dune, and kind of manage and rule that planet, which has kind of been difficult to rule in the past. It also has one of the most valuable resource in the entire universe, which is the spice melange. We'll get into the spice in a minute, but his advisors, Duke Leto's advisors, his family, even himself, they know that going to Arrakis, to Dune, is a trap. And he decides, though, that it is what he's going to do. There's a lot of opportunities for their house if they go. It also kind of keeps the Emperor thinking that he's playing along while he's going to try to pull some levers and, pull a fast one on him maybe. It also has a lot of wealth opportunities with the spice melange because it is a very valuable resource. Whoever controls the spice controls the universe. So there's a lot going on in Dune. It's just not the easiest place to kind of rule and to master. So spice melange, we'll talk about this. As we said, you control the spice, you control the universe. It is mildly addictive in small quantities, and when you're on Arrakis, you are ingesting it, whether you know you are or not, through the food, through the air, through the drinks. Ingested in large quantities, it is extremely addictive. It can also kind of give some prophetic powers. It is used for space travel. It extends life. And also in the Fremen, the local people of the planet Arrakis, of Dune, you'll see them with blue eyes, which just shows if you are addicted to spice, it kind of turns your eyes blue like that. So you'll see it in Chani, you'll see it in Liet, you'll see it in Stilgar in the trailer. Okay, so the scene we're right about to go into with this trailer now is Paul talking to the Reverend Mother of the Bene Gesserit. So the Bene Gesserit is an ancient school of mental and physical training established primarily for women after all of the thinking machines or computers were destroyed. Lady Jessica, Paul's mother, the concubine of Duke Leto Atreides, is a member of the Bene Gesserit, and as one who is trained in the Bene Gesserit way, some of the things that you'll notice them that they can do, they have something called the Bene Gesserit voice, which they're able to use the tone and the inflection of their voice to command someone to do something. They are trained with the fighting technique of the weirding way, which is very powerful. They're really good in battle. They kind of kick butt, and we'll see that probably come out as well. They have a lot of control over their body. They can regulate their temperature, their level of consciousness. They can lower their heart rate. They kind of have a level of a truth detector, if you will. They can tell if someone is telling the truth or even if they are omitting something and not telling them something. They also can kind of control their fertility. And so they can determine when they get pregnant and if they would get pregnant, what the gender of the child would be. The Bene Gesserit is also trained to have great observation skills, so they take in the smallest details to kind of formulate a greater understanding of the situations that they're in, and you'll definitely see that play out in the book and in the movie. So here we are, we're still on Caladan, which is Paul's birth planet, and the Bene Gesserit Reverend Mother comes to see Paul, which is a big deal. Paul is not part of the Bene Gesserit, but he is the son of Lady Jessica, a Bene Gesserit woman. And the thing is that Lady Jessica was supposed to give birth to a girl. The Bene Gesserit told her, you are going to give a girl, a daughter, to Duke Leto Atreides. She decided not to and decided to give Duke Leto Atreides a son. So the Bene Gesserit kind of have this sneaky thing going on where they are trying to breed a Kwisatz Haderach, a super being, if you will. The Kwisatz Haderach would be a being who could bend space and time and is said to be a male. the key is that the Bene Gesserit would secretly control him, right? And so they would use him as a pawn in their game, in their quest for power. And their master plan was to breed this Kwisatz Haderach from all these great houses. So Lady Jessica was to produce a female daughter from the Atreides house, and she was to be married to a male Harkonnen, which we can see would be Feyd-Rautha, which we'll talk about him in a little bit. And then these two would give birth to a male heir known as the Kwisatz Haderach. But Lady Jessica decided she wasn't going to have a girl. She was going to give her Duke Leto a male heir. And that kind of messed up all the Bene Gesserit's plans. They're like, what the heck, Jessica? We've been doing this for years. This is everything we're working towards. You just messed it all up. But Paul, the son of Jessica and Duke Leto, shows signs, prophetic signs from a young age. And there's rumors, could he be the Kwisatz Haderach? He wasn't supposed to be, but could he be the one? So the Reverend Mother shows up on Caladan to see Paul and to test him with the box, which is what we are about to see right now.
Remove your hand from the box, and you die.
What's in the box?
Pain.
Ooh, okay. So basically the test of this box is something that every Bene Gesserit woman does. Usually males do not do it, and usually they cannot pass. And basically you put your hand in the box, and it's a test of your humanity. And really this test is a matter of life or death. You see, if you put your hand in the box, it gives you an immense amount of pain, I think caused through your nerves. And if you withdraw your hand, you will see this Gom Jabbar, this poison needle at his throat. So if he removes his hand, she'll stick him with the needle and he's dead. And that kind of indicates that he is an animal. He's not in control of his body, his mind, his consciousness, and he therefore cannot be the Kwisatz Haderach. If he is able to leave his hand in the box and take in that amount of pain, he is human, he is of consciousness and of awareness of his own mind, body, and soul, and he passes the test of the Bene Gesserit. So he passes the test, and he's the first man ever to do so, which implies that perhaps he is the male Kwisatz Haderach, the fabled leader who could potentially bridge both space and time.
You inherit too much power.
So you can see here, this is Caladan, this beautiful world with tons of oceans and water, and it's just such a stark contrast to what we'll see on Dune.
You have proven you can rule yourself. Now you must learn.
And there we just saw a scene with Paul fighting and training with Gurney Halleck, played by Josh Brolin, and we see they have their shields enabled. So let's just talk about that for a minute. One of the really cool things about Paul is that he was bred to be essentially this awesome super being, if you will, this Kwisatz Haderach. I think Jessica always thought that perhaps he could be. She didn't know if he would be, but she gave him all this training that she could. So he learned to train with the best of the best. So Gurney Halleck, who we just saw, is Duke Leto Atreides, War Master. He's very skilled with a sword or knife. He's also very skilled with a balisette. And so he trained with Gurney. He learned everything from him that he could. He also was trained by Duncan Idaho, who is a master swordsman, played by Jason Momoa. And so he learned everything from him. He was also trained by Thufir Hawat, who is also a member of the House Atreides clan. He is a Mentat, which is essentially a human computer. They have great analytical skills, and now that computers are gone, they almost have to act as computers themselves. So he was trained by him as well. And of course, Lady Jessica, a member of the Bene Gesserit, trained him with her own knowledge, the weirding way, the voice, learning to kind of read the room and observe all those things. Everything that a Bene Gesserit can do, essentially Paul can do too, because Jessica was training him to do those things. So he had the best training growing up. He had all the combat skills. He had all the analytical and computing skills taught to him from Thufir Hawat, who's a mentat. He had all of the Bene Gesserit training. And so he's taking all of this with him now as he enters into this new world of Dune on Arrakis.
All others. Something none of your ancestors learned.
My father rules an entire planet.
He's losing it.
So this is just another part where, you know, they knew going to Dune that it was a trap. There's a lot of signs that are leading them to think that this could actually be the demise of House Atreides, but they go anyways. Basically, Arrakis is a death trap. The whole planet essentially is trying to kill them. There's no water. It's super hot. The people themselves are somewhat against these outsiders coming in to rule them.
He's getting a richer one.
He'll lose that one too.
So let's pause right here. We can see Paul in the lead there. Gurney Halleck, who is the War Master of House Atreides. I didn't see this the first time I watched. I didn't think Thufir Hawat, the mentat, was in the trailer, but he's actually there right over the left shoulder of Gurney, carrying the umbrella. So that is Thufir. That is the human computer that is on the House Atreides side. And that's them now landing on Dune, on Arrakis. And this thing is that Duncan Idaho, who we're just about to see, Jason Momoa, he went ahead, he didn't travel with them, and he has been on the planet kind of doing some surveillance and trying to get the lay of the land. He's been mingling with the Fremen, who are the native people of Arrakis. And so he has some intel, he's made some friends, and we'll kind of get to that in a minute too.
Arrakis is a death trap.
I'll kill him.
So, there's a lot happening here. Can you guys see that? We got a glimpse of Stilgar, who is one of the leaders of the Fremen people, and I think one thing to note is just that with Duncan Idaho going ahead, he befriended Stilgar, earned his trust. Stilgar saw what a great fighter he was and like kind of formed a relationship there with him. So Duncan Idaho, at least in the book, actually goes and he is still, you know, a member fighting for the House Atreides, but he actually goes to live, to fight, to learn with the Fremen before things go crazy. That didn't happen in the David Lynch version. Duncan Idaho was barely in the film at all. And by the looks of the trailer, he's going to be in it a lot more. So I'm really happy to see that because in the David Lynch version, he died like in the very beginning and we never got to see anything with him. So we also got to see a glimpse of Baron Harkonnen and Rabban, the Beast. These are members of the Harkonnen family and this is where the spoilers start to come, ambush the Atreides family with the help of the Sardaukar, the legendary fighting force of the Emperor, and they take over Arrakis from the Atreides family, forcing Jessica and Paul into exile, into the desert, basically left for dead, and we're gonna continue on now.
Termination.
That was Dr. Yui. Remember the tooth! If you guys have read the book or seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. We obviously know that he was the traitor, helping the Sardaukar and the Harkonnens get into, take over from the Atreides.
They're picking my family off one by one. Let's fight like demons.
An animal caught in a trap will gnaw off his own leg to escape. What will you do?
So this trailer obviously is a compilation of different scenes going on all at once, right? This is a scene back from when Paul was still at Caladan, talking to the Reverend Mother and doing the test of the box. When she's telling him, you know, you're going to do this test. Are you an animal going to gnaw off its own leg? Or are you a human? This is part of that conversation, just still kind of edited to be a voiceover, I guess you will, of the other scenes.
I
know you.
Johnny.
One day, the legend will be born.
So I'm really glad they included this scene. In the book, there is a chapter where Liet Kynes, a leader of the Fremen and the planet's ecologist, takes out Duke Leto Atreides and Paul Atreides and Gurney Halleck out into the desert in what is called a thopter, that's short for ornithopter, which is an aircraft which is capable of sustained wing beat flight in the manner of birds. So you'll notice in the trailers, like, the thopters kind of have like a beating wing-like pattern. Anyways, Liet Kynes takes them out into the desert to see the spice harvester factory and to see the station where the spice is being harvested. Remember, spice melange is the most valuable resource in the galaxy. And while they're out there, there is worm sign detected, which just means that there is a giant sandworm coming their way, and they need to get out of there, otherwise they risk being eaten and swallowed up whole. So this scene does a couple interesting things. It lets Liet Kynes, the leader of the Fremen, start to see the true characteristics of Paul and of his father, Duke Leto Atreides. And he's amazed because he's like, Duke Leto Atreides, when he sees that everyone is in danger, he's ordering all of the men who are working there to get on the ornithopter. And he cares more about the men than he does of the equipment. And Liet is like, wow, like, this guy, yeah, that's pretty good. He doesn't seem to care as much about the equipment. He cares about the men. And they pull away just in time as the worm ingests everything. And that's the part that we're seeing right here with them in the thopter.
All of civilization depends.
I think right there, that is Liet Kynes. In the book, it is a male, but in the movie, Liet is played by a woman, and I think that's the only time we see Kynes in the entire trailer. So I'm really excited to see more of Kynes. It's an awesome character, and I can't wait to see it played by a woman.
The future.
So right there, we see Duke Leto Atreides with a bloody hand capturing on his shoulder. I think that scene kind of happens right before, obviously, Duke Leto Atreides is captured himself by Dr. Yui. I think that bloody hand might be shout out Mapes, but I could be wrong. But in the book, I think, he finds her and she's talking to him in her final moments. So I wonder if that's who it's going to be. So we're jumping a little bit all around in this trailer, but this scene here with Paul, he's seen with the Fremen in the desert, including Stilgar, who's one of their leaders. And it looks like Paul is about to fight someone, and I wonder if that is Jamis. Someone told me they saw Jamis in the trailer. I never caught him, and so I'm thinking that has to be him, but we don't see his face. We just know that, Paul, when he is captured by the Fremen, or captured by the Fremen, he kind of bests one of their lead fighters, Jamis, and that starts a whole thing. And it'll be interesting to see how far in depth they take it, because in the David Lynch version, they kind of cut that part right out. But it's a really interesting way to learn about the Fremen society and their culture, I think. So I hope that they go into depths about him and Jamis's kind of face-off and the after effects that trickle down as well.
Not fear.
So this scene is taking place right after the Atreides house kind of loses their footing on Arrakis. With the help of Dr. Yui, the doctor of the Atreides house, he betrays them and helps the Sardaukar and the Harkonnens to enter in and take over, capturing Duke Leto. But Dr. Yui, his one saving grace is that he helps Paul and Jessica to escape. He has a thopter waiting for them. And they go out into the desert, and in order to kind of shake everyone off their scent, Paul flies the thopter into this massive storm, which no one in their right mind would ever do. Luckily, they survive, but everyone thinks they're dead, so they're able to kind of scurry off into the desert, but that's what's happening right here.
Fear is the mind killer.
Fear is the mind killer.
My Lord Duke.
This makes me happy too. So just going back to the part where we said in David Lynch's version, there's hardly any Duncan Idaho. Duncan Idaho like gets killed in the siege when the Sardaukar and the Harkonnens come. But in the book, he survives, and he actually finds Lady Jessica and Paul in the desert, helps them to find safety for the time being. But I'm really excited just to see that his storyline's actually going to be carried out through, more similar to what happened in the book.
Fear is gone. Only I will remain.
Worm sign!
Go, go, go!
Crazy. So, yeah, those sandworms are pretty big, right? Whenever a worm is detected and the signs start coming in the sand, that's when people will yell, worm sign. And the sandworms, they have many names. They're also known as Shai Hulud, Old Man of the Desert, Old Father Eternity, Grandfather, a Maker. And in the deep desert, they can be as big as 400 meters long. So watch out for these guys. I think some of the interesting things we saw too, we saw Paul in his still suit there at the end, which is made by the Fremen and kind of helps you when you're in the desert to regulate your body temperature. It helps to filter your body's, the waste that your body makes. It helps you reclaim moisture and kind of saves that in different catch pockets in the suit so that you are able to salvage that water, because water is so valuable on Arrakis that you can't let any go to waste at all. So the trailer looks absolutely amazing. I'm so excited to see this story come to life again under the direction of Denis Villeneuve, and I honestly cannot wait. Chani is there. We didn't really talk about Chani. She is actually the daughter of Liet Kynes in the book, and she is a member of the Fremen. She's a warrior in her own right, and she kind of takes Paul under her wings, under the direction of Stilgar, and they kind of form a little love interest too. She looks great, played by Zendaya. Can't wait to see her in that role. I think the one thing, if I'm worried, I say it in air quotes because I'm not really worried. I'd say the one thing that could be hard about this book and bringing it to the screen, there is a lot of inner dialogue in this book, especially with Paul and especially with Lady Jessica, even at times with like Liet Kynes or Stilgar. But even it's not even broken up with chapters where Paul is from the mind of Paul one chapter. They will be, from paragraph to paragraph, it may jump from Paul's perception and perspective to Lady Jessica's. And I feel like that is just historically kind of hard to do in a movie when there's a movie that has a lot of inner dialogue where that character's like thinking through and breaking down something. When all of that dialogue takes place in your head and isn't actually spoken dialogue, that can be hard to do and bring it to the screen. And it can be hard for the viewer sometimes not to feel confused or like, how did they figure that out? Or what are they doing? So I hope that they do that well or find a way to do that well, because I don't think it's easily done. I also really hope that they just include a lot more scenes that were in the book. The David Lynch version, which I've only seen once, really omitted a lot, and I know that they can't include everything, and I know a movie doesn't have to be the exact same thing as a book, but there's so many good parts in this book, and I think at the beginning of the movie they included more, and then I just noticed, they completely cut out that dinner. Oh, they completely cut out that entire scene. Oh, they didn't even do that. And it just like is one of those things where you just kind of lose a little bit of the magic and the luster. But one of the examples is Duncan Idaho. Like, Duncan Idaho is this renowned fighter, swordsman, and he barely even get a fight scene in the David Lynch film. So it's almost like, why even have him there? He was just like a character name that they kind of tossed in. So I'm super excited to see this version. I hope they include as much as they can. It's going to be 2 parts. And Denis Villeneuve is known for making long movies, which I am all for. So I'm really hopeful that this is just going to come together to be this amazing, amazing Dune. I cannot wait to see it. So what do you guys think? Are you as excited for Dune as I am? Was there anything I missed in the trailer? I know some people were talking about the Pink Floyd soundtrack in the background, which I think is super cool. I'll be honest, the first time I saw the trailer, like, I wasn't even listening to the music because I was just so focused on what was happening on the screen. But I think that was amazing. I think Hans Zimmer is actually doing the score for the film, which I'm all for. He's one of my favorite composers. I think some of the interesting things so far, we haven't seen some of the characters on screen. We haven't seen much of the Harkonnens at all, which I don't think is a bad thing. Like, let's give us a little bit of mystery. But they, you know, we saw for a brief second Raban, who's played by Dave Bautista. For a split second, we saw Baron Harkonnen, which is played by Stellan Skarsgård. Who we haven't seen is Fade Ratha, who is the Baron's other nephew, who he's kind of grooming to take over for him or to put on the throne, if you will. And we haven't even had a confirmed actor for that role yet. I've seen a couple names here and there, but IMDb doesn't have anything. They haven't listed anything in their press releases. So someone in the comments, I had noted that in the trailer reaction, someone said they probably won't maybe even show Fade in part 1, or if they do, they'll show him at the very end of the movie and let him kind of be the villain for part 2, which honestly, I think that would be great, and I think that'd probably be a good way to break it up. We also haven't seen Pieter de Vries, and I'm probably saying his last name wrong, but Pieter is the Mentat, the human computer, if you will, for the Harkonnens. He's going to be played by David Dastmalchian, which I'm probably mispronouncing that name too. I apologize. And I bet it's going to be really creepy and really good in that role. He was in Blade Runner 2049. He was in The Dark Knight. He just plays like really good, like slimy roles. He's an Ant-Man as well. So I'm excited to see him in that. Who else? There's obviously some characters like Aaliyah that are going to be in part 2. The Emperor, we haven't heard much about him. I think if I had to guess where part 1 will end in the movie, since it is going to be 2 movies, Paul and Jessica will escape into the desert. They'll be found by the Fremen, and the Fremen will kind of adopt them into their group, and they will wonder, could Paul be the Lisan al-Gaib? And I kind of feel like maybe it could end with Jessica drinking from the water of life and changing into the Fremen's kind of Reverend Mother. And then just cutting off there, because I think that might be like the end of like book 2 in Dune, where then it jumps forward in time in part 3, where I feel like would be a good place to start, and then probably get into with all the politics and the drama with Fade as well. But I don't know. I have no idea. There's a lot that goes on here, so they could split it up any which way. So what do you guys think of the Dune trailer, of the upcoming book adaptation? Are you excited? Are you nervous? What did I miss? Tell me in the comments. Be kind. I know I'm not a Dune expert, so if I mispronounced something or got something totally wrong, I want to hear it, but let's just keep this a place of positivity. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I cannot wait to learn more about Dune. If you missed my trailer reaction, I'll link it below. I also did a trailer reaction for the David Lynch version, which I just recently watched. I've got a recipe for Dune cakes on my website, 4 Spice Melange cakes, as well as a breakdown of who's playing who in the upcoming film, so check that out if you want. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. My name's Monica. I blog at popcornerreviews.com, and thank you guys so much for watching.